Okay. Good morning, Teacher Devin. Nice to see you today, my friend. Hope you're having a nice day. Let's see. Just need to wrangle a few more of these windows. I wonder if I could make like a... You have a shell script that like launches a window and changes its size? Kind of thing? I need to find... I guess I've seen a few of them out there, but I need to look closer into something like AutoHotkey for Windows. Super useful for setting up different windows how you want with one single script or whatever. That would be super useful. I think there are a few things like that, but you can't use AutoHotkey specifically, which is the only one I had experience with. So you gotta bite the bullet and learn one of the Linux ones, really. Alright, we're almost there. Bluetooth window is open in case we need it. I've been a night owl lately, making all night. Awake all night, I gotcha. Yeah, I'm relatively early to bed, early to rise these days. Usually going to bed around, usually not any later than 10, between 9 and 10 most nights, and I'm getting up at like, usually waking up at 5 or 6 and getting out of bed a little bit after 6. Alright, where are we at here? So let's do a quick intro and then we'll jump in. So first of all, welcome, good morning, thanks for tuning in. My name is Tim, I go by Foamy Guy on GitHub and Discord. On this stream, which I do weekly around this time, 10 a.m. Central Time on Saturdays, I typically work on CircuitPython related stuff. If you're new and you don't know what CircuitPython is, you can learn more at the main website for the project right here, circuitpython.org. This is basically a version of Python that runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers. In my case today, I'm working with the, was it FeatherSense? FeatherSense? Yeah, FeatherSense. Which is a Bluetooth one of these microcontrollers. So generally speaking, the way these microcontrollers work, they'll plug into your computer. When you use CircuitPython, I should say, these microcontrollers are general devices. They have many uses outside of CircuitPython, but the bits that I work on are related to CircuitPython most typically. So when you're using these things with CircuitPython, it's going to plug into your computer, usually with a USB cable, and then it's going to show up like a thumb drive. Most typically, on that thumb drive, there's a code.py file, a text file that you can edit with any text editor. When you save that file, the computer that's actually on the microcontroller board, the little computer, in this case, the one that's tucked inside of this little shield here, is going to notice that you updated the file, and it's going to actually interpret and execute the new version of the code in that file. And then the code that's within there can actually interact with all sorts of other stuff. So this device in particular has a bunch of different sensors on board. There's a tilt sensor, like an accelerometer, XYZ type thing. There is a temperature and humidity sensor. There is, I think, maybe a light sensor. There's a couple of different things this thing can sense, and your Python code that is inside that file can actually interact with all those sensors. Or you can connect up whatever else you want using these pins, usually located along the edges of these microcontrollers. You can hook those pins up to other little electronic doodads. So if you want a different kind of sensor, if you need a distance sensor and it's not here, you can hook up that, and then you can write some code that interacts with it. So that is the high-level look at what CircuitPython is. If you, again, want to learn more, circuitpython.org. Also join us over on the Discord, where there is a Help with CircuitPython channel and a CircuitPython dev channel. If you are interested in the CircuitPython project, then we have Adafruit to thank for that. So Adafruit is a hardware and software company based out of New York. They are the company that is financially backing CircuitPython by paying for the folks who work on it. There's a team of folks who work on CircuitPython full-time and are paid by Adafruit to do so, and there are some folks like me who are paid to work on it part-time. So huge thanks, as always, to Adafruit, and if you want to help the CircuitPython project, one of the easiest ways you can do that, if you want to help support, I should say, is just head over to Adafruit and purchase hardware from them. When they're selling hardware, they're making money. That's allowing them to continue paying all the software developers that are working on CircuitPython. So huge thanks to everyone who purchases goodies from there. And yeah. So where we're at today, we're back in Bluetooth land. The last couple of streams I've been working on this. Basically, we're trying to integrate with the BLE workflow into Circup and a new part of Circup that will be called WW Shell potentially, which is like a simplified file management utility. You can open a batch or a PowerShell script to a certain size, but that's Windows. I gotcha. So Circup is a utility, a command line utility that lets you install and manage libraries on your device, as well as examples these days Circup can do. It can load those libraries on your device. It can update them. It can remove them, all from the command line. WW Shell is a little bit more general. It's not dealing with just libraries or examples specifically. It's just a general file management utility. So it can get files from the device. It can put files on the device. It can make directories. It can list directories to show you what's inside of them. Kind of just basic terminal file operations. And I am trying to add support to these utilities for Bluetooth, for BLE workflow, which is one of the ways that you can edit files on your CircuitPython device that is not the typical just plug it in and edit the files on the thumb drive like I was talking about before. So with the BLE workflow, you'll usually connect to that device with a mobile phone or some other computer that's running Bluetooth, and then you send the correct signals via Bluetooth, and you can actually tell it, hey, I want to download this file, or I want you to upload this file here, so on and so forth. How's it going, Johnny? Nice to see you, my friend. Coffee cheers to anybody who's got some coffee this morning. So where I am at more specifically, the lister and the read file are both working and are both put inside of the Circup repo now. Now, this is obviously just my working branch of the Circup repo, but that was one of the major things I was working on last week, was actually taking these proof of concepts that were just their own scripts utilizing Bleak and moving those into Circup so that, it can actually be hooked up with a BLE backend, and then when you actually run a Circup command or a WW Shell command, which is what I'm starting with first, it can actually start executing through those Bluetooth things. So lister and read are both in. Where I'm starting today is going to be upload files. Yeah, that's a little too generic, isn't it? CircuitPython, and let's toss in GitHub also. All right, so this is the sort of Bible docs, so to speak, for this particular process. This document basically tells us all the actual specific details that we need. So write a file is what we want to do. Writes the contents of the given file to the given full path. If a file exists, if the file exists, it'll be overwritten. Content may be written as received. So an interrupted transfer may lead to a truncated file. Okay. Offset larger than the existing file size will introduce zeros into the gap. Interesting. I'm not sure I understand that quite all the way, but that's all right. I'm sure we'll get there. I've been doing Python programming a couple hours, getting close to my GrowCube integration for Home Assistant done. Nice. Learned a lot doing that project. Awesome. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. GrowCube, like is that a thing that grows plants and stuff? Cube, like a little indoor potting plant type thing? Or is this a game? Cube. Maybe it's a game. Plant watering. It's got to be this one, right? Guessing it's probably this one. Looks like there's a game by the same name. It is a More literal sense of cube, I suppose. Turn-based game, which you turn your cube into a beautiful habitat. Interesting. Oh, you might. I think he was talking. I think you were talking about this before at one point. Actually, you shared something about this. Okay, I remember looking at this before. Little pump system. It looks like nice. You know, integrated with Home Assistant, which is like a relatively easy to use kind of IoT platform. Nice. All right, so offset, somebody's going to pass an offset, and if it's larger than the existing file, so this is in the case if the existing file exists, if the offset's larger than the existing file size, it will introduce zeros into the gap. Header is 4 fixed entries and a variable length part. So we have the command, which is hex 20, 1 byte empty for padding, path length, so 2 bytes of a number for how long the path is going to be, offset, 32 bits, i.e. 4 bytes for a number. So where we want to start writing. So we need to send 0 the first time, and then we need to send, you know, if we're using chunks of 1024, which I probably will since that's what I used for read, then we would need to offset by 1024. But actually, I suspect that's not true. It's going to tell us. I don't know how this is going to work, I guess, though. Yeah, I don't know. At some point, it's probably going to tell us how big of a chunk to send or something. So I don't know how. We'll see. That's a 4-byte number. It represents the starting offset to write. Okay. Current time, 64-bit, so 8-byte number, nanoseconds since epoch. Just the current time so that can be stored in the file system. Okay. Total size, 32-bit, so 4 bytes. The total length of the content. It's interesting to me we have the same amount of space to store the length of the path as we do to store the length of the file. And then we have the path, UTF encoded, not null terminated, because we sent the length, path length right there. Okay, so then after we send that, the server will repeatedly respond until the total length has been transferred with single byte, always 21, so like read more or write more, status of 1 for OK, 5 for file system is read only, which reminds me I'm going to need to mount my thing as writable, 2 if a parent directory is missing, or a file. I don't know what or a file part of that means, but okay. 2 bytes, empty for padding, offset 4 bytes, the number. Yeah, okay, this is what I was thinking. Yeah, offset. So it's going to give us a number, offset. Should match the offset from the previous 20 or 22. So that should be the same, I guess, as what we sent it. How to reverse engineer everything. It's not open source. Oh, that's a shame. It's cool, though, that you've done it now. If the command wants to make the file bigger, you need a 0 fill the distance. Nice that it is included in the docs. If the file is 2 bytes and the offset is 4, you need to add 2 zeros to the existing file before you append the data. Oh, I see. Okay, so yeah, I see. You're replacing a smaller file. Then it will fill up the up to the offset with zeros before it starts writing. That does make sense. Yeah, path file. Yeah. How's it going, C. Grover? Good morning. Coffee cheers. All right, where are we at here? So we did offset. So, okay. There's a hint at a 22. I'm guessing will be us replying back to a 21. So my guess at how this is going to work is we send a 20, server sends a 21, and then we probably send a 22, and then server probably keeps We just go back and forth. We send a 22, server sends a 21. That's a guess. We'll see. Truncated time. We get back the time again. Sent back for caching on the host side. Not sure that I understand that, because the host was the thing that originated the time. I guess just like, here's a confirmation of the time that you sent me. Free space 32, so 4 bytes encoding the amount of data the client can send. Okay, here's what I was thinking. Well, but that's like, free space, that's going to be the... I wonder if that's going to be like, that might be this free space on the whole board, right? Like how many open bytes on the entire storage, I wonder. Or is that telling us, you're supposed to send this many bytes with your next, transaction or whatever. Okay, we'll have to see what number we get from that. Client will repeatedly send until the total length has been transferred with. Okay. 22, status, always 1, 2 bytes empty, 4 bytes, the offset to write, data size, the amount of data the client is sending, and then data. Maybe we should go smaller than 1024. I'm starting to question actually the 1024. Because if we do smaller chunks, it should be less likely to get interrupted. Is that, I assume that's true. Transaction is complete after the server has received all data and replied with a status. Okay, here's our answer to the old question. Here, and replied with a status of 0 free space and offset set to the content length. Okay, so that is not the total space that's left. That is actually the server telling us how much to send. So we're going to send offset 0 when we start. It's going to confirm that offset 0 is where we're starting, but it's going to tell us, hey, send me 256 bytes, let's say, just making up a number. And then we are going to be responsible for sending back that much. And continually updating the offset as we go along until we get to the end. So yeah, it's dictating how much each chunk is going to be, basically. Okay. Pending a smaller file. Need to get some coffee in nanoseconds. That's going to be big. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's nanoseconds, but is this going to be a huge number? Smaller chunks, slower as well. So free space equals buffer space. Basically, yeah. Free space equals, it's like the amount of space remaining in this file transaction. Yeah, not necessarily free space, but I also don't have a better name for it, so it's like, yeah, transfer, whatever. How much is left to transfer, basically? Remaining transfer bytes? Not great. Current time was added in version 3. The rest of the packets remain the same. Okay. We're supporting a minimum of version 4, so we don't care about that. All right. So diving in here, we need to find the right name to put this under on our backend, which is, we can find that by going to www shell commands. We can look at the put CLI. Overwrite the file if it exists. So we're going to need to run actually a check first. We're going to need to check if a file does exist explicitly, because www shell actually gives the user the option to say, yes, overwrite this file. And by default, it won't. Which means we actually need to implement file exists pretty much. And how did we do that in the web backend? Just sends a GET request, and it would presumably, I guess, just get back the content of the file, probably. So we don't really want to transfer the whole file just to find out if it exists. So lister might be the way to go, or is there like any other way I can... I mean, can I send a read and then just ignore everything except the first response? It would be nice to have a file exists command. Because I will say this is fairly slow as far as transferring files goes, at least the reading the files in the lister. Let's just scroll through this. There is list, move, added, okay. So we either have to lister the parent directory of the file we expect to exist. We have to get the entire contents, like the entire response of lister, and then we need to search for the file that we're interested in within it. And if it's there, then file exists is true. With read file, if we can just bail on the transaction, then we will send it the read file command. It will send us basically the response header in the first response. And then it's going to be waiting for us to send 12, but what if we just don't? Let's try this route. So I wonder, should we try to refactor the usage of the parts we need so that we're not copying as much? So the basic kind of structure of this is inside of so this is backend.download file, specifically BLE backend.download file. And the things this does is declare this function, which will get called repeatedly and will attempt to parse the contents in the data buffer to see if they contain a complete file or not. If they do, then it will cause download file to actually return the contents of that file. Callback handler is a function that will call attempt to parse, and it will take whatever data is passed to it and add it to the data buffer. So it'll add the incoming data to the buffer, then it will call attempt to parse. BLE download file, this is kind of the top level one inside this function. That will create the client, which is initiating the connection. It will pair, it will start notify, which is effectively setting a callback on that callback handler to say, whenever we receive data with this UUID or whatever, whenever we receive a transaction, a characteristic, whatever this is, I'm not sure the exact appropriate terminology. Whenever that comes in, though, we want to call this function. It's our callback handler, which I just described before. And so, like, a lot of this code we want to use, but some of it will be different. Well, we won't really need this, I guess. Well, we need some of it, maybe. The callback handler. Because if the file exists, this is going to tell us status of 1. or successful. Or presumably 2 for some other error. So let's validate that. Let's try to make sure that we actually get like an error that we can read in the first response. Okay, I'm pretty sure I will need to like remove it from here. That stopped spinning. This is still kind of just stuck. Oh, interesting. Maybe when I focused it, did that start it back up? I don't know. So we do have like a 30-second timeout, which is pretty long. Okay, we got device not found. So I think it's a little unclear to me how the pairing and stuff works. I'm pretty sure I need to put it back into BLE mode or whatever by resetting it twice. But I also think there's some way that you can like have it retain that connection somehow, but not entirely clear on how it's supposed to work. How's it going, Tithe? Good morning. Let me catch up here. Smaller, so let's see, it's there. Depends on how large the chunk it is. Can process in time. Bigger chunks doesn't always mean faster. True. Yeah, it totally depends on environment and what else going on in the file and stuff. In this case, it's going to dictate the size anyway. We still got device not found. All right, let me droop it over. So by default, I guess it has a really short range, and then the idea is once you complete the pairing, I think it gets a longer range or something, but again, I'm not entirely clear on how it's supposed to work with regards to that. So I've been having some luck, like at some points with it just being on my desk, it's fine, but sometimes I'm having to put it much closer to my Bluetooth antenna, I guess. I assume these things are Bluetooth antennas. Also, another thing we've been doing to fix it is a little back and forth action there. And then another thing that I've done that's fixed it sometimes is removing it from here. After I try this, I'll try that as well. I'm interested, like I know we're sitting here waiting on this, which is not very fun, but I'm interested in trying to narrow down the behavior to understand the parts that I don't a little bit better. We got a timeout error. Okay. Interesting that it was a timeout error. I mean, I think that means that we did connect to it, right? Or I don't know. Let me just try one more on that. See if we get the timeout error or if we get the other one. So interestingly, we have an extra thing, but it's not a CircuitPython thing. Yeah, so I don't know what's up with this. I don't know why we're having to like come in here and remove this. But it seems like we're not going to get it working without doing that. So let's do this. Go back and forth to give it another sync there. And so that shows back up as not set up now. And now it's connected. So like our code did that because I didn't click anything in here. Okay, so yeah, now we're actually inside of here, running get code, not this device present. Okay, so yeah, actually, we don't have a clear error for when the file doesn't exist. So let's try to figure this out. Let's do this so that we can see the unpacked values, which should contain a status, which I think should be 2 or something that's not 1. By the way, I've been working to improve Wi-Fi internet reliability on a ESP32S2 for feeding AIO from various APIs, primarily the extremely few weather.gov data, no account key required. Incorporating feed throttling has helped tremendously. I've seen a few 40-plus hour non-interrupted sessions. Wow, that's pretty sweet. When it does fail, the code automatically recovers. Big thanks to DJ Devin for exploring the frontiers of APIs and documenting the journey in the playground. Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. Well, that's weird. Why did it not print? Okay, well, I'm assuming that we're using the code. Let's confirm that, I guess. So, the get CLI. The old hello. Oh, okay. Okay, no, yeah, we are, okay. Okay. Do call download file and then so what? It's not making it to. It's not making it into a temp parse file. Okay, let's do this, but I don't understand. Return. That's returning from the callback handler. If length of data is equal to the header size, if command is read data, content offset is 0. Maybe it did this? We would have definitely gotten a thing that's the header size, because we would have gotten a header. We should have gotten a header. Ignoring, okay, it did. Ignoring header packet, okay. Okay. Okay, that's not a very useful representation of that data. Let's go ahead and... What is content? I guess let's just print all of these things. Unpacked values. Same way we are in here. In fact, we could just give it the old swap-a-roni on this. Let's copy that. Let's comment it back out. Let's put that down. Let's put that here. We print those unpacked values. And let's run that again. Read the spec. I think I understand how the protocol is supposed to work. Nice. Carter has a great Learn project on returning the latest NOAA radar image. Worth looking into if you are working on government weather stuff. Yeah, there's a tides one or something that hits NOAA for data, I think. It's pretty cool. Okay, datas we received. This is from read. Okay, so we got 17, but that is hex 11, I think. Hex 17. Yeah. So we got that. We got status single byte as 2, which I think is our tip-off that it failed. It doesn't give us a specific reason it failed, but I feel like it's pretty safe to assume on a read file, if you failed, then the file doesn't exist. Okay, so the logic for file exists is going to start like a download file logic, but it's not even going to have attempt parsed file. And we're just only going to parse the header. And if we got a status 2, then it's an error. We return false. The file does not exist. If we got a status 1, it's not an error. The file does exist. We just return true. We never send... We never, like, send the next 12. Although I guess it's going to reply a few times, isn't it? All right, let's start getting this coded. I'm gonna start with all of this, or actually I'm gonna start with just this. We're not gonna bother with a separate third function, I don't think. We'll see though. Is it just called file exists? Self-length file path. Okay. Let's get rid of some stuff that doesn't work. So we pretty much... we can just go to here, print out all these values, and then let's do nothing else for now. So let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. We don't really need to buffer the data because we're only interested in the status. No parsing anything, no parsing files, no old prints. Yeah, we're not really going to have success. I mean, success will either be... You know, our Bluetooth transaction is successful and we get a 1 or a 2, and therefore we know what the answer to file exists is, or our Bluetooth transaction is unsuccessful and we raise an exception or something. BLE, let's call it file exists now. File exists. Address, target file path, okay. Target file is... actually called file path now. Okay, create the client, set the callback. Can get rid of that old hard-coded one. Target file path, sure, yep, encode, write. Okay, very good. That should be all we need. So let's see if we do return, let's see if we do get, I can't remember if we get more than one callback, or if we actually have to send 12 before we start getting data. I don't remember. I think we get data, so we're gonna have to ignore some data actually. Just ask for offset. Ooh. Does it have a size? Chunks. It doesn't. I mean, it has a chunk size. Okay, but that'll limit... I see what you're saying, though, because that'll limit the first response to only being that small chunk of data. Yeah, good call. Thank you, Johnny. Good call. So in our... here, instead of saying chunk size, let's just say 1 byte. Or yeah, let's do 1 byte. I don't know if 0... I mean, 0 actually sounds better. We want just the header, really. We'll see if it freaks out. All right. So that's file exists. We can then call that from get CLI. Did we change anything in LS? Weak device not found. Okay, we'll need that try catch. Everything else is the same to here, though. So let's just hijack this for now. Let's not do download file, but instead let's just do context object backend file exists. I know the first thing inside download file is file exists, but this just feels easier to test that one specific bit. So now we just send one thing, which is the file we want to download, which is file. I wish those had better names. So that should go in here, and it should unpack anything we receive and just print it out. Cool. Hopefully we just receive one header, we just print one thing, we get a status. That's all we need, hopefully. Need to send it to get more package, chunk size and offset. Not sure it can handle 0. Yeah, we'll see on that one. I'm writing a playground note about it. Once you figure it out, the WeatherGov API works well, but the observation stations in my area aren't very reliable. On occasion, I've seen data that's freeze or turned to none for hours. Interesting. I've been the weather website that I look at actually has stations as well, and I've found the station that it defaults me to has something weird going on in the morning. It must be like in full blast sunlight or something in the morning, because it often reports like absurdly high temperatures, like 120, 130. Like it's just not that hot out. Like it's hot, but it's not that hot. Okay, so we should be able to just run the same command. And while that's running, actually, I'm going to run to the restroom as well. So BRB. Whoa. It's not found. Online stations, even in the same town, are often different from your house. Typically airports and shade. Oh yeah, I never considered that. Take online data with a grain of salt, except for radar or buoy. Yeah, I'm interested in mounting something outside my house somewhere. I'd like to have a local weather thing, but I also don't know what's the best, what to keep it in to keep the weather from destroying it, basically, and how to power it and all that stuff. All right, it looks like we did receive one response. We got our error, and that's it. So let's make sure, though, if I do code.py, we should get one response with status 1, hopefully. As long as that works, then this is perfect. Interesting. Usually it's pretty fast after it connects. Got it, though. Nice. All right, cool. That's actually really easy. Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Johnny, again, by the way. That was, whoa, did not cross my mind to change the size, but that actually makes this do literally exactly what we want. Callback handler. So all we need to do here is just return true or false based on, well, it's ever so slightly trickier. We need to do this trick to return, but where do we want to do that from? We need to do that from down here. So we go, let me split this and see how I did this little trick. So we do have this thing going where we are inside of this async def callback handler. So if I just, if status equals 1, return true, or even more Pythonic, I guess, is return status equals 1. So if it was successful, we return true. If it was error, i.e. 2, it's not equal, we return false. But the problem with this is returning from callback handler, which won't do what we want. We need to return from file exists, which I wish there was a way in Python to just be like, file exists dot return, or so. I wish you could just tell it like, not my function, but this parent function. So it feels like it should be possible. But instead, what I came up with, which is probably not, I'm assuming not the best way to do it, but a way that worked is, where did I do that? Transaction finished. Callback handler. File. Somewhere I did this. Where's like return value? Okay, it is in callback handler. What is this? Oh, okay, this was lister. I just got confused. Lister and read, I guess. Okay, so in the callback handler, we're going to set the return value, and then we're going to set ready to return to be true. And also actually, at the beginning of file exists, we're going to set it to false. So self.ready to return equals false. We're going to reset that to false in case it was true from before. And then here, once we've got all these values, we're going to say self.ready to return is true, and self.return value equals what we want to return. So status equals 1. And remember, that'll be true if the file exists and false if it doesn't. There, okay. And then what we need is, after we call run, after this starts, we basically have an infinite loop while not self.ready while note ready to return. Then we async IO sleep, allow our other things to run, and then whenever ready to return is true, it's going to break out of this while loop, which means we can do that. So, weird. Feels very hacky. Feels like there's a missing thing, again, where it's like you could just... Or like, you know, super. I mean, it's not super because it's not a parent class or whatever, but it feels like there would be a way to just like say, hey, return from my parent, but I don't know what it is. This is what we ended up with. According to the spec, you should check for 1. Yes. Well, okay, yeah, we could do hex, I guess. This probably makes it more clear. Or actually, we have we should have like okay, which should be 1. Yeah. That's probably the best way to do it. Personally, I kind of like in my head parentheses are better here, but I know Python doesn't really encourage that. All right. Let's see if this works. So we can go back to commands, git, and let's say exists equals, and then click .echo. Maybe we should have a file exists. Does ls work? I think, but it's only directories. Directories. So on Linux, you can ls a file, and it effectively functions sort of like a does this file exist. It might be nice to actually have a command for does this file exist, which could call file exists. Definitely it'd be nice for testing, which is why I've hijacked this one, but exists. Let's make sure that gets returned and prints true or false successfully. As long as it does, then I think, whoops, we are ready to do the actual uploading next. Can you get a system traceback? Wow, can you get a system traceback and hop up a level or something? I do not know. The only thing I know, the only context I have ever seen traceback get used is like exception tracebacks. I don't know if it's got a more general usage, but I think Anne wrote file exists for a floppy TFT. Oh, interesting. You can call outside using underscore like file exists. Can't you call outside using an underscore file exists? So I mean, the thing is though, I'm not trying to call file exists. I'm trying to return from file exists, but I'm actually inside an inner function. So file exists as a function, and then inside of that is callback handler, which is a function. And I've got some logic inside callback handler where I want to say if something is true, then I want to return, but I don't want to return from callback handler. I want to return from file exists. So whoever called file exists, I want to get that true or whatever back to them. And as far as I know, there's no like underscore return or like file exists return or anything. It feels though, it does feel like a thing that Python would have. So it's very possible it does. Off, too nice weather to stay inside. Take it easy, Johnny. We'll see you next time. Good luck and have fun. Yep, thank you. Can you, okay, yeah, that was from before. Throw out high or low. Let me see. This was from before as well. Okay, yeah. In August, you set up be moving to a new house in August and then set up a weather station. This is just still chilling back here. That's a little bit weird. Not necessarily like that. I mean, I don't even know why it would be doing that. The timeout's 30, so definitely should have timed out by now. Got connected. Disconnected. There we go. Okay. It's looking like it takes us about 5 seconds to get connected. It is weird. The computer thinks we disconnect like after the client gets created and then before we actually do our transaction here. Nice. Okay. File exists true. Very good. And then if we go code not, which does not exist, or code note, that's what I typed, then it should be exist false. In one of my wilder ChatGPT moments, I was calling something off of sys, and it was traceback related for me saving to Flash. Yeah, out by the river, best of both worlds, nerd for life. Oh, nice. You're sitting out by the river. Sorry, I guess I meant def underscore file exists. I mean, we could define a new one, but it still, I don't think it helps us necessarily return from that parent one. I mean, I definitely could define another new one inside of here, or even we could go deeper. We could define another one in here, and as long as we choose a different name, it can still exist and do whatever, and it can even return, but it will be returning from this into this if it gets called, actually. Right now it's only just being declared but not called. So we definitely can declare one, but I don't know of a way that we can, like, from inside the inner one, return. Let me give it a quick search, though. I don't know that I've ever actually tried looking. Python return for parent function from inner function. I don't think this is the same thing, though, because there's not an inner function here. Nested function. What? Oh, this is MATLAB. All right, that's basically what we landed on. All right, maybe it's one of those things where I'm like, it feels like it should exist, but it's actually super duper hard or something. Maybe it can't really. All right. So that gives us file exists, which will let us do the first part of upload file. I will say these commands do take a bit of time, so having to connect and check if a file exists and then turn around and connect again to upload that file. I'm assuming this will be like a 30 to 40 second operation at least or something, but let's see where we end up. Okay, so we have a file exists now, so that can actually return. Then it's going to go and call upload file. Okay. So I think the easiest case to test first is when the file does exist, since we can test that without actually implementing upload file. Because we can just not pass overwrite, and then it'll tell us that it already exists. All right. And working dir CodePy, I'm gonna make I'm gonna make okay, yeah, that's like a logging example. I'm gonna look at what's in CodePy on the device. And actually, I think what I'm gonna do is just make a file on the device. Cancel. That would be bad. Hopefully that would just fail and not break anything, but I don't know. All right, we're gonna make something.txt. It's gonna have hello world inside of it. And we have something.txt here. which has something else inside of it. So www shell mac, we're going to go put, and then we're going to go something.text and something.text, although we might not need the second one, but I'm going to put it anyway. So this should call file exists and then tell us that it exists and we need to pass overwrite. Went to connected, but it did stop spinning too, which is interesting. Okay, here we go. Attempting put, overwrite false. Byte array. Ooh, I got it not implemented. Interesting. Why do we get that? Upload file? Is my logic backwards? So I put that in the root of CircuitPy. SOMETHING .txt. I never did look at what was in CodePy. I guess it doesn't matter because I'm not overwriting CodePy anymore. That was weird. That was a left arrow that caused that. I don't know what. I don't know. So the CircuitPython interpreter sees that file. Do I need a /? Could I do it without location? Maybe location needs to just be / or nothing. It defaults to empty. Interesting. I mean, I guess it wouldn't really be /, it would be /, I guess, for root. I almost think that should just default to / probably. If I pass / explicitly, does that do the same thing? Other than also printing the / here and thus making this make a lot more sense? I can see it's like it's manipulating these when it connects. I can see those moving out of my periphery. I guess it's probably adding a Bluetooth one or something. Yeah, it's adding the Bluetooth one. Okay, that does do the same. I think let's just put /. Let's just do that. Okay, and then that much of it is, in fact, working. It's pretty sweet. So we will need an actual upload file, though, before we can do the rest. Otherwise, we saw what happens, which is that it's just going to say not implemented, because it's going to call the parent class, which is not implemented. Did not mean to close that. That's a bummer. All right, this is web backend. So we need def upload file self target file location to paste. I don't think we really need that, honestly. If anything, we should print the full thing, which it seemed like we already were somewhere else, so I don't really need to do that. If is_dir target file. Oh, okay, you can... Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll eventually have to support that, won't we? I was just going off in my head, like, it's not... I wonder if we even want to support, because install dir, that's basically uploading a whole directory, which is ultimately just a list of upload files, right? But honestly, our transactions are slow. That is not going to go very fast. We'll see. I do think for BLE workflow, it is a little bit slower, so I think it's a little bit better at copying single files than directories. But I mean, at the end of the day, a directory is just multiple files, so it can do one, it can do multiple, but it may be a couple of minutes or something to transfer. So it'd be nice if we could reuse that client. I put a little bit of effort into trying to reuse the client object, but I could never figure it out. I was getting weird errors, like it seemed like it didn't want to make the client on one thread and then use it on another, but I'm not actually like just using async. I'm not really trying to use threads necessarily. I don't really understand the errors either though, so. We don't, for now, I'm just gonna comment all of this out. We're just gonna pass if it's a directory, and then we'll come back and deal with that later. If it is a file, then I guess we'll make an install file BLE so that the API can be like kind of the same-ish. Okay, that actually does have different names. Source, location. BT Classic is for audio. So much faster than BLE. It'd be nice to have those speeds for BLE. I never played too much with the old BLEs. The old Bluetooth Classic, I should say, not BLE. Alright, so this is kind of basically open the file, send a post or a put or whatever. So ours will be kind of one of our things like we had before. So I'm gonna Candler. I think we'll go with just two. I think we'll start with just two. Two functions, like one thing and then a callback handler. So we'll keep this BLE install file. But that's not going to want to... So this is a bit weird where we're passing these through, but then we're mirroring the names. Inner. I don't like it that much, but I think on the other ones I might have just mirrored, I'm not sure. So this will do the basics, like this part. And wait, yeah, that too. And then honestly, we might as well just take all of this because we're going to basically do the same thing. We are going to have a different encoded command, so we can maybe comment this for now, but we will effectively be doing the same thing, just encoding different stuff. Address. Yeah, we will need to accept, I guess. Okay. Back handler. So that gets unknown and data. I think I looked at the underscore at one point, but I don't remember what it was. If only it had a descriptive name, huh? So this will be incoming data. We might as well keep this structure of ignoring repeat packets. Then we add that packet to the list so we know to check again next time if we have already received it or not. And then we unpack it, but our unpacking is going to be different. We need to unpack the 11 command. Any audio device that uses Bluetooth Classic like BT 3.0 or even new AirPods, such as even the new AirPods and such. Bluetooth 4.0 and up, I think, is all BLE related, but Classic has never gotten new protocol updates. Anything audio related is known as BT Classic, and all data is known as BLE, even though they're advertised as Bluetooth 5.0. Interesting. I'm relatively late to the Bluetooth audio in general. I guess this is my second pair of Bluetooth earbuds, but the first pair I had for, I don't know, maybe a year or two only. And I only got this one relatively recently, a couple months ago. So there were years and years, probably a decade or so, since Bluetooth stuff started coming out that I didn't really get any of it. I had, like, the Wiimotes. I played with Wiimotes a little bit. Those used Bluetooth something. I don't remember which one. That was really the only Bluetooth thing that I did play with way back when Bluetooth was kind of more early in its years. Okay, so command status, that's the same, but then we have 2 bytes for padding. Okay, XX. So actually, so far, that's all the same. Chunk offset. I don't remember what I is. So that's in, this is in file exists, which is using read file. I almost want 2 of these. So read file. Oh, well, we're not going to be responding to 11 in the write file one, but incidentally, I do want this. So read file, it was getting, those are 32. Okay. I was in the wrong one even. Look at that. Okay, let's get down to here. So 21, that's what we're going to be. Okay, so let's actually fix this. So single byte 21, single byte status, 2 bytes padding. Okay, so far it is the same actually, coincidentally. Then offset is 32-bit number. Whereas on read, it was chunk offset, which was 32 bits as well. Okay, so I must be 32. So this got 3 32s, so it was I. Okay, so we're gonna have 1 I, and then we need a 64, which I think we used before on the read the lister. Q. That must be it, right? Modification time, yeah. We had I, and then Q. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, so Q is 64. So we have... Get back to here again. We have XXIQI. XXIQI. Okay. One thing before I even go any farther, so that I don't forget, we need to mount this as writable. It is currently not. And I don't remember. I don't have the way to do it memorized. Just the way to get to the page that tells me how to do it. Does that count as having the way to do it memorized? Not really, because if this page disappeared, I'd be screwed. All right, so import storage, and then storage.remount / and then we need to give it read-only equals... Wait, what? Storage.remount / and then read-only equals, and then we want what? So read-write state of CircuitPython. We will want false for not read-only to CircuitPython. Yeah. And okay, I'm gonna save that, and I can always use REPL. I can always use REPL through USB to get back out of this if we need. We probably will need, because I don't have any other way back out right now. That does mean that I need to reset the device, though, which is unfortunate, because it's now draped over here. And I would assume I need to reset it twice. Oh, that's not the reset button. Because I'm guessing we want to get back to the solid Bluetooth light. And I'm just going to jump out ahead of it. I'm also kind of assuming we're going to have to do this number again. So let's just remove that. Okay. And then it should be writable now. So let's just verify f equals open a thing dot text writing f dot write. Hello? F dot close. All right, perfect. So that would have raised an exception if we were not mounted as writable to CircuitPython. Oops, storage, you got it. Nice, thank you. Okay, where are we at here? So we're unpacking this. Let's go ahead and print these things, although let's also give them the right names, actually. So that was what? Command and status are the same. Then we have offset, truncated time, and free space. Offset. What? Truncated time, free space. Yeah. Yeah. Wait, we send the file size the first time, right? Total, yeah. Okay. Okay, so let's print those. All right, and now our command. We have source and location. So it looks like we need to include that root slash. So target, so that is source in our case. Source is the file on the PC that we're moving to the microcontroller. In our case, we want inner source because we're inside of this function, which is inside of this function, which has source. Maybe we shouldn't pass it. Maybe that's the answer. Because if we just didn't pass these, they could still use them like source, right? Yeah, that's the answer, I think. We just don't pass those, actually. Okay. We are going to need to call this thing down here asyncio.run, I think. Yeah. Syncio.run, BLE, install file address, self.address. Okay. And then return. I don't know if we'll need to do the return thing or not. Maybe. We'll see. I don't think so, because we're not like, there's no like result at the end, right? Like when everything's done, then the file is now transferred, but we don't really return anything. I guess you could argue maybe we should return true or false or the amount of bytes or something, but in reality, I think there's nothing to return. We'll see when we get to it. Okay, so we have the file path. We're encoding that, UTF-8. Dota 2 attitude Shadow variables, file saving is a side effect. File saving is a side effect. I would agree with that. Shadow variables, and then hopefully we're getting rid of the shadow variables. Also, I have to ask, and I'm assuming the answer is probably yes, but like, do you like Dota? I've been considering playing Dota, but I haven't jumped in yet. Shadow variable names are bad, yes. Do you have, if you do, and if you have any idea how it compares to League, I'm interested in that. Haven't played in 15 years, I gotcha, too long. I got interested in League for a while, but they kicked me out because I played on Linux, and I won't switch to Windows just to play, and they made it so you can't play on Linux anymore. So I was like, maybe I'll try Dota, but I haven't committed yet. All right, so we encode that, and then we are gonna be building a packet like this, but our packet is gonna be a different size. We have 1 byte for command, 1 byte for padding, so that part's the same. Then we have 16-bit path length, which I do think is H, so that part is the same. Then we have offset, which I can recall is I for 32. Then we have 64, which we saw a minute ago is Q. Then we have another 32, so that's another I. And then we're going to have the path after that. But that's not part of the struct. Okay. So our command is write. Write in some BLE Python. Yes, I will give you the high level. First of all, I'll say thanks for tuning in. But I am working on CircuitPython, which is a version of Python that can run on these tiny computers called microcontrollers. So I have a Feather Sense, which is one of these microcontrollers that supports Bluetooth. And I am working on a utility called circup, which is a command line utility that lets you interact with the files on your device. Circup itself lets you install libraries and examples on your device and update libraries because we're always updating them. Yep, circuitpython.org. I'll get you the link though. So we're always updating the libraries. Circup helps you keep them up to date, and then there's a new part of Circup called WW Shell that is just the basics of file management. So like ls to list a dir, git to download a file, put to upload a file. Eventually we'll have make dir and some others as well. And so I'm working on the BLE integration for that because one of the things that CircuitPython allows is the ability to modify your files, to manage your files over Bluetooth. Probably want more of the real thing. Gotcha. Okay, so we are going to do write. We are going to do the length of the path, which will go into that H. And then we have IQI offset. So I would assume 0 is what we pass for that first. Seems like a decent place to start. Current time in nanoseconds. How do we get that? I don't know. Well, there's monotonic? NS? So that is seconds. And it is seconds since 1970, right? I don't know if that will work with all of that, but let's see. But this one might be milliseconds. Years ago. Yeah. That would actually, so... I still didn't do it right, I don't think. No, something is wrong here. This is maybe not. Okay, let's just screw this. Python get current time since epoch nanoseconds. I wonder if any of the circuit stuff has got BLE on it. Yeah, so this device does. Feather Sense has got Bluetooth, but there are lots of them that don't support Bluetooth, so it's kind of a mixed bag. Some of them do, some of them don't. Honestly, like on this downloads page, there's 500 devices. They're like all different kinds of stuff. Some Wi-Fi, some Bluetooth, some just BLE, not BLE, rather USB. Works pretty intensely into Bluetooth tech, but I don't write that code. I gotcha. After Fallout TV series, I went back and replayed Fallout 3. It's so good. Monotonic NS, you can divide by 1,000 for milliseconds. So I need nanoseconds, though. Time.ns. Time.ns. Maybe that's what we want. Time.ns. Get the nanoseconds since epoch. That sounds like what we want. Time.time.ns. I guess probably time.time is then maybe milliseconds or something. Yeah, looks like it. Okay, cool. Time.time.ns. And then what's the last one? Total size. The total length of the file contents. Oh boy. I don't know. How do I find that? Python get size of file in bytes. os.stat .st size file stats os.stat path, so that's source, and then here file stats.st size. This is PyCharm. Yep, PyCharm is the IDE that I'm using. Can you divide by, or you can divide by monotonic? I think I said the one before. Then perhaps 10,000 monotonic in it. Yeah, but I don't know what monotonic is returning. Like, it exists, but I don't know what it represents when it's on the computer. When it's on CircuitPython, it's the amount of time since it's booted up. Maybe that's the same. But I don't. It feels like too big just at first glance, but I'm not sure. Yeah, and that was monotonic in seconds, and then yeah, there is a monotonic in S, but it's still, I'm not sure what it's actually representing. If it's time since boot up or time since something else. But it doesn't seem to match up with time since 1970, at least on my computer right now. All right, so that's our command. We're gonna send that, and then we will. Oh, wait. Oh, the path also. Yeah. Okay. We send command, and then that says file path. Why is this yellow? Expected buffer got bytes? I mean, is it yellow up here? Expected buffer got bytes. Yeah, okay, I don't know. I'm fine with that for now. Type it into the editor, then put the cursor in the method. Type it into the editor, then put the cursor on the method name and hit Control B. What's Control B do? What did that do? Was that go to where it's called, or? It looks like it's, is that the same as Control click? Well. Find usage? Is that one find usage? I use Control click a lot. I don't recall ever using Control B. That looks like what it's doing. Go to definition. I gotcha. Works in both directions, similar to Control click. Nice. Control B. I'll have to try to remember that. Yeah, that is pretty convenient to do that without clicking. Control, is it Control, I think it's, well, I changed it to Control Alt I, didn't I? It's Control Shift I. Yeah, Control Shift I found recently, which is pretty nice. Little pop-up of the definition. When you don't, there are sometimes when I want to just like peek at the definition, and if I control click, then it changes, or it's in the same file, so then it scrolls me. But Control Shift I gives you like a peek at the code, and then you can just get right back out where you were, which is pretty sweet. Okay, so we should send that. We should get back at least one, hopefully. And then we'll see what's in it, and then, yeah, probably it'll break after that, but didn't know Control Shift I. Yeah, that one's pretty nice. I just found that one more recently. I think the tip of the day, which I still have turned on, showed me that one. CircuitPython epoch. Yeah, so CircuitPython epoch is different, but then the CPython is the one we are going to be under. I'm going to translate to Unix. Control P is pretty good. What's that one do? That one might need a different context or something, or it might be different on mine. I don't know. Show parameter definition. Oh, okay, here we go. Data, maybe here. Or maybe it's not. Oh, okay, yeah, it's probably just, it doesn't have any information. There's no time pins or doc strings or anything, so it probably can't tell me too much right now in this code. Some of the other parts of this code have got a bit more of that stuff, but this is all brand new. All right, let's see what it does. So put something, so that file exists. Do we want to replace it? So let's say, so overwrite goes back here, I think. So we'll say overwrite yes. I don't think that, I'm not sure that worked. Maybe overwrite needs to be back here. I mean, it should be after put, though, because overwrite is modifier of put. Maybe it needs to be at the end. I don't remember. Do I need to remove this again? I mean, I did. Well, no, I reset it after we removed it last time. Does not set up. Bail on that and try again. Okay, that time I saw, okay, we got connected. I don't know. I feel like that was longer than 30 seconds too, so I feel like maybe the timeout's not working quite right, but I'm not sure. It didn't actually count. I got a little impatient. Recorded. Actually, took, this tells me 1 minute 20. Yeah, it was definitely over 30. All right, there we go. Something already exists, overwriting it. Received notify, here we go. Okay, so we got our first response, and then in our case, we don't have any of the rest of the code, so it just told us that it was successful. It might have even overwritten the file for all I know. It's possible, I'm not sure. All right, so let's check into this. So we got 33, which we know is hex, probably for 21. Hex 21, okay, very good. We got status of success. Very good. We got a buffer byte of empty. It says 2 bytes. Oh. This doesn't print those. This doesn't print those X's though. Okay, so we got those 2 X's. Those are not here though. We got byte, then we got 0. That's our first I, which is offset. So we got offset 0. We got back the same time that we sent. Hopefully I didn't actually check, but I assume. Then we got free space. Free space says 210 bytes. So then we would now need to, if we were, obviously we bailed on this, so we can't actually do it with this transaction, but the next thing we would need to do is send the 22 command. But I gotta run to the restroom again, so BRB. Oh, to my leg, okay. Put is generally idempotent. Remind me, I think that means it's supposed to return the same thing every time. Is that right? Or idempotent means it changes the state of something? Forget the precise definition of that. Okay. So how do we want to structure this? This kind of works like the read file. This kind of works like the read file. This is actually called download file. I want the BLE implementation. So we occasionally, when we're in our callback thing, we occasionally pack up another command and send it, which is effectively what we are going to want to be doing here. And I think we don't even really have any logic, right? We should, in the case of install file, whenever we receive a 21, we're just always gonna pack up a 22 and send it, other than maybe the last one, except for I don't even think it will give us a last one. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. So we can get ready to send. You can get ready to send a new thing. I'll do this again. I don't know if this actually ended up being useful or not, but this would like kind of keep printing periods as a little bit of a sort of progress bar type thing, sort of kind of, if you use your imagination a whole lot. I'm actually going to call this encoded command. All right, so this is going to be different. So we have, I should probably be checking command in here somewhere. Right now I'm just assuming it's going to be the right thing, but command single byte, always 22. All right, so we have 1 byte, we have another byte for status, so byte, byte, 2 empties for padding, XX, 32, which is I, so offset, data, size, also I. So that's actually the same packet structure. It's not going to be read pacing, though. It's going to be whatever is 23 hex, no, 22 hex, write data. Yeah, write data. So yeah, write pace. So it sends us write pacing. We send it write data. Always okay. Yeah. 2 bytes empty, and then offset. 32-bit number encoding the offset to write. So this should be the offset that we received. The offset we received, I think, right? It is weird, like, what does this mean? When would you ever send an offset that's not 0 with the first transaction? Would that be like you could technically append to a file, but in order to append to it, you also have to know how long it is. And then you could say, starting at the next byte. But that's so weird to like take one complete file on the PC and then upload it into an existing file as an append. That's such a weird operation. I don't know. I feel like this should just would like always be 0, right? I mean, I guess I'm imagining the WW shell use case. Maybe if you're not in a terminal file manager, maybe there's a case where you want to like just append a log statement to a file or something. I could see that. I could see something like that. Okay, so we'll just say offset. So we're basically gonna start where it tells us in the last 21. Data size, encoding the amount of data. Okay. So I happened to see it told us 210. So if we just pass through free space to here, then that's going to be 210, and then we're going to be responsible for writing 210 bytes, which is the size of that, which is convenient. But if we're uploading a bigger file, surely there's a case where we don't want to use this exact amount, right? Like we probably want to have some chunk size and then say like, if free space is greater than chunk size, then we send the chunk size. Then whenever we catch up, at some point, free space will be less than chunk size, and then at that point, we send free space. And I think I'm tempted to use smaller chunks, so I was using chunks of 1024 for reading. I think I'm actually tempted to use smaller ones for this. I mean, let's set it the same and see what happens, I guess. I don't know. Okay, so we're going to say we need to get sending size equals free space if free space is less than BLE backend file write chunk size, else we use file write chunk size. So if free space is less than chunk size, we set it to free space, and if it's not, if free space is bigger than chunk size, then we set it to chunk size. And yeah, we'll see. Eventually I may come back and actually lower that chunk size, but see what happens. And then we're going to say sending size here instead of free space. So we do that, and then encoded command, and then when we go to actually write it, we need to actually add the data to it as well, which means we need to read the data out of our file. And even more specifically, we will need to handle the chunking. So we need to like read out a certain amount of data. We just go to sending size. Okay, we just always go a slice of 0 to sending size. And that should be fine. I think so, yeah. All right, we're gonna have a send. Do that. It's gonna be encoded command and then plus data. And we need to make data. So data, we're gonna start on none with open source as read bytes. Data equals, oops, as f. I always forget that for some reason. Okay. Open the file, read it to there. Whoops, now we have data. Oh. Maybe, oh, we shouldn't use data. Shouldn't use data. Let's call this outgoing data. So we read that from the file. Well, so technically we want to read and we want to slice offset to sending size. But it's offset. I don't know, I said offset and my body typed 0. Okay. And then we would say encoded command and then not data would be outgoing data. And that seems like it should work. It's maybe not the most efficient thing in the world to open this file every time we get a callback, right? That means we're going to be opening the file, reading the whole thing, slicing off what we want, and then closing the file, and then getting another callback, you know, in the case where our file is actually bigger than our chunk size, which it's not for our test file, but if it were, this means we're going to be opening and closing that file a bunch of times. It could make more sense to just open the file once, get the data into a variable, but I mean, at the same time, I think the Bluetooth part of this is going to be way slower than the file opening part of this, so I don't know. We'll leave it. We'll see what happens. Is there anything else we need? I mean, I feel like this should basically get us there, right? I mean, we don't, so right now we don't have any logic that's like checking for done, I guess. We should probably do that, but I think the file, it seems like it should upload. Maybe. It should upload or break, I guess, right? One or the other. Create an argument for continuous appends equals true. I'm not sure what you mean continuous appends. Continuous appends? Or are you talking about like what we were saying before where you append to the end of the file? Do this back and forth. So the BLE workflow should support that, but I don't necessarily see a need for WW Shell to support it. We could maybe add it ultimately, but I don't know. It feels weird with WW Shell because it's like, because you can't do that with CP, right? Like WW Shell is effectively CP, copy a file, but instead of copy it from the computer it's already on to a different place on the computer it's already on, we're going to the microcontroller. But CP, I don't think it can like append to the target file. It's always going to overwrite, so it's always going to start at 0. It doesn't have to open and close. Oh, I see. US appends. So I think if I wanted to get rid of those, I would read it outside of callback handler. So I think we got it, right? So we got our first response. In the first response, it told us offset 0 and free space 210. We sent data to it, which is not printed out, but we did it. We can tell there that we only sent one chunk of data. I should probably add another new line in there. Oh, well, actually, it's not going to work, though, right? Because we're printing a bunch of stuff in between when we print this. Eventually, I guess we'll turn these other prints off, though. So then in the next one, we got offset 210, which is the end, and we got free space 0, which is what we get when we're done. Yeah. So that looks like it was successful. I don't necessarily think we can trust just opening this. Like, I'm pretty sure that PyCharm is going to be lying to us about the contents of that. We could go to here. We could open it back up this way. Let's restart with restart the REPL. Nice. Yeah, that's totally what we So that is what we pasted, but I do wonder if we broke the new lines. Because that shows stuff on different lines. Maybe... I can't decide. I don't know if that's just printing them escaped or if that messed it up. I feel like, honestly, it probably messed it up, honestly. I think the escaping is not working. Let's try downloading that file. So get something.txt, and then let's call it downloaded something.txt. I don't think I've ever tested changing the name locally either, so we'll see if that works. Anything works. Gotta head out into the sunshine and run an errand. Thanks for the stream. Yep, take it easy, C. Grover. I'll see you next time. So this is one of these ones where it's like going longer than the timeout and not succeeding. I don't really know why it wouldn't fail at the 30-second mark for the timeout, but at some point we're gonna have to try to look into that. And then it did. I mean, the good news is, I guess, like, every time that's happened so far, I've just boarded once and then tried again, and it's fine, so. Oh. Okay, so my git, okay, so that's good to know. My git command is not working right, basically. My get command is assuming whatever you passed to it is a directory, and then it's putting the file into that directory under its original name. Okay, so let me do this. Make dir downloaded. And let's run that again and just say downloaded. So we'll download something and put it into the downloaded folder. Really, it doesn't matter that much which way we do it. I just want to make sure that I don't overwrite the one that is there, because at the end of this, I'm going to be comparing the one that we downloaded with the one that we uploaded to see if the new lines got messed up in one or the other. Gonna go get out in the garden, work in the sprinkler project. Have a great day. Yep, you too. See you later, DJ Devin. Thanks for hanging around. I'll be wrapping up here pretty quick too as well, probably. All right, file download complete. I can cat that and we get actual new lines, printing it out all nice. Okay, we're good, I think, actually. Yeah, I think we're good. Just was showing weird in the console, I guess. Well, sweet. So yeah, upload worked, and then download worked. Do I dare try something bigger than the chunk size? Let's see, do I think it's gonna work? I mean, it should be able to work, I think. It should be able to work. We'll see. Yeah, let's give it a try. Let me get some lorem ipsum. Let me get some, like, let's go with some cupcake ipsum, actually. Ipsum, that's the good stuff. Or donut? Isn't there a donut ipsum? Let's do this one. Generate. Yeah, give me some. That's probably 1024 bytes, right? I'm gonna make a new file called yummy. Yeah, is that 1024 bytes? Yeah, 2658 bytes. Okay. So www shell put, we can do no overwrite yummy.text. Uh-oh. Oh, okay. Well, that was our file exists, actually, so that part's okay. Failed to write. We got a failed to initiate write. When we tried to send the it looks like the first packet of data. So this is our file exists check, and error was telling us that the file does not exist. Then we would have sent the file upload, the write file, and we got back our 33 here telling us write pacing that it's time to actually send. Interestingly, it's telling us 512. So I was thinking that that should be the file size, though. Maybe 2658. So I guess it does do its own chunking. So honestly, I'm sure the chunking logic is broken. But it also, I mean, this looks like mostly it just disconnected or something. I don't know, let's see if it fails the same way. Well, I guess part of the problem now, though, the file might exist. Not sure if it would have actually created it or not. So we'll find out here. It's probably time to start turning off some of these received things. Like, we probably don't need to print that anymore. All right, yeah, it does say file exists now. I guess we will we'll overwrite. Where I was putting that, where did that end up going? Before the file name. We are now in the situation too where we're overwriting a smaller file. I guess it's doing that thing with the zeros or whatever. Okay. File exists, overwriting. We should be sending our first write command somewhere in here. Maybe. Nope. Actually, it looks like we failed in the same place. So we must have sent our first write command successfully. We got our first write pacing command back. But then whenever we are going to send our outgoing data, it's not working. Probably because of the logic of sending size. Because I'm not really understanding where this file... I mean, I guess this is the thing telling us to only send 512. So we don't really need a concept of chunk size, basically. It dictates the chunk size. I think that's probably what's going on here. No thanks. All right, I think I'll wrap it up for now as well. So we made it to... We kind of did the same thing we did on the read one. We made it to where it works when the file is smaller than the chunk size. And it currently does not work when the file is larger. Most likely that is because I was not understanding free space correctly. I was assuming free space would be the total size of the file, but that doesn't appear to be the case anymore. So we need to be always sending free space, and we need to just not have a write chunk size. So that's what I'll work on when I get back to this. But I will take off for now. So thanks to everybody for hanging out. Hope you all have a good rest of your weekend. I'll be back on Friday this week for deep dive. So Friday at so it's build usually at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. And it does happen to be 4 p.m. Central, which is actually the time zone I'm in. So that's how I think of it more typically. So that'll be on Friday. I'll be back for that. And then I should be back at the normal time on Saturday as well, 10 a.m. Central Time on this channel. Yeah, thanks for hanging out. I will catch you later.